Hey, I'm Grant, and welcome to the State of the Channel for August 7th. So, update for the week. There will be no Digression Bar episode 10 coming out on Friday. Basically, what I want to do is, I think I actually have the website I'm trying to create actually kind of all working. Now, I have yet to actually push it live because there's still like some stuff I want to test, but in order to do that, I actually need an actual podcast RSS feed to test it with. Like I need another service I can pull from because I'm not going to be hosting it all on the website. I'm probably going to be using a third-party host for the actual files and the distribution, and then they get played through the site. Well, I actually wasn't expecting to have that done yet. I was actually thinking I was going to go for more episodes, but now I'm actually at a good point where I think we might be, the technology is ready to release it. I don't know if the podcast itself is ready, but what I want to do with episode 10, since I wasn't able to fit it in this week, is just really try and have a good episode. Something that's just like, this is quintessentially what it is. So really nail the opening, really nail the ending, get as much feedback as I can, maybe do one more to feel it out, and then after that, the episodes are released. It's going to be back to, this is episode 1. And that's what I'm really excited for, but I'm considering doing something like where what we'll do is we'll sit down and honestly probably record I'd like to do as many as 10 more episodes. Probably not that many, maybe more like 2 to 3. And then just go through, and when we record it, I'll record the intro. Like, this is episode 1, this is episode 2, this is episode 3, for each one, so that at the end, I can actually pick which one's the best. And that feels a little disingenuous, but it's also something I know that if someone, 5 years down the line, I know, let's say I get this amazing funding and this podcast is the most popular thing in existence, what have you. Best possible route, right? I would just be afraid, though, that someone comes like, oh, I've heard of this podcast, the Digression Bar. My friends, they love it. I want to go watch it starting from episode 1. Well, that would really suck, because no matter how good it is 5 years from now, episode 1 is still always going to be the same. So I want to make sure it's a very good one. And that's basically why I did those 10 or so test episodes, because if you look at test episode 1, that was pretty rough on the technology, on how we, I think, talked about some stuff. The lighting was atrocious. I definitely didn't get any of the artwork down. And that, I think, was a very good choice to nail it all down before we actually started officially releasing. So I want to make sure I do get off on the right foot. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few weeks I go kind of radio silent on that, because essentially just taking a gap between the test episodes and the legitimate thing, just to make sure that everything on my end is good so I can have an actual release. So as part of that, what I'm mainly hoping to do is have really good scheduling. That's actually a big part of my end that you guys wouldn't see, is just getting a good day to film it. Because there's a lot of things that need to happen before and after the podcast that are very difficult when the podcast itself needs to happen on certain days and to get certain people. One of which being, I want to make those fun little thumbnails, but ideally they should be relevant to the people on the podcast. So all of a sudden now it's one, I need to figure out at least 7 days before when we're filming it. And if we're going to do a photo shoot, I'd like to have it a whole another week in front of that, or say, if I could know the next month's podcast crew ahead of time, that would be extremely helpful, because then it's okay, I recognize that most of you guys are busy. Well, let's plan out, these 3 people are going to be on this one, these 2 people are going to be on this one. Let's do the photo shoots on this one Saturday for the next month. So that's what I'd like to eventually get, and that's what I'm hoping to nail down with this little time period. So I'm really excited. I was banging my head against the wall with that site for the longest time, getting it to actually be able to push an RSS feed, being able to have the technology needed to do what it does, I guess. And I still need to go through and fix and implement some graphics on the site. Something that makes it custom and not just, oh, you use the default templates. I can't have that. So, but that wasn't a big priority compared to stuff like actually it pushing the RSS feed, getting it to actually hook up to iTunes, that whole thing. That's what I really wanted to, and that's what I made my priority. So, it's going to be a dull week this week. I actually don't think I'm going to put out any videos besides this one. I'll probably try to use a little bit of my time if I actually edit up that Resident Evil Let's Play. I've been filming it, but I've yet to actually sit down and edit it, just because it's kind of low on the totem pole to get to. But yeah, it's going to be a slow week or two, and then hopefully in 3 weeks, I'm so excited to be able to say, like, now when someone asks me, oh, what you can do on the weekend, I can be like, oh, I'm going to record a podcast, and I'll say, check me out on iTunes. That's a pretty big step. Like, I can't say how much it is. Like, when I tell someone, like, oh, I have a YouTube channel, they're like, what does that mean? Versus if I say, oh, you can find me on iTunes, here, I'll show you on your phone, this is my podcast. That's a pretty big thing. And that's actually one of the reasons why I want to really nail the first episode and cover like really good topics, is because while I know eventually with the digression bar, the route I want it to go, I don't care that much about like specific topics. Like, I don't want to enforce like we're only a gaming podcast or we're only a lifestyle podcast. I just want to let it wander. But I definitely know what I want to do with the first one is make it something that anyone can listen to. So that'll probably mean less ultra specific Kingdom Hearts rants, more just general like, oh, I had this awesome story when I was a kid interacting with this, or this was this crazy thing that happened to me today. More of that I'd like to get in the first episode, so that ultimately I can show someone like, hey, you're over on your lunch, there's only 30 minutes, give me a listen, tell me what you think. And I'm extremely excited, because this started I think a month ago, where I was like, I need to have something that I can legitimately show to people, and they're like, maybe it's not perfect, like maybe it's not, like there's a saying, I think, I don't know if I said it before, where when you're doing stuff like this YouTube stuff, and you're teaching yourself, you need to make like shitty content before you can make bad content. And before you can make bad content, or before you can make watchable content, you need to make bad content. And before you can make good content, you need to make watchable content. Like right now, I feel like I'm on the cusp between watchable, hopefully moving into good, depending on what project I'm on. And I want to have something where I can put this out there and they say like, yeah, maybe it's not like I'm going to go watch like the 10 episodes that came before this, but it's like, you know, I get it. This is entertaining. It's interesting. I'm not going to watch it, but if it was on when I was like doing laundry, I want to turn it off. Something like that is what I would like to achieve realistically with the first episode. From there, I think there's still a lot of growing that podcast needs to do, but that's going to be a little bit more up in the air, a little bit more we have to see where it goes and what I can do with it, and getting a lot of feedback from people who are willing to listen to it. So that's my goal for the next 3 weeks, I guess. And then, again, somehow get some more videos out in between there. I still really want to do some RuneScape stuff, just because it's always done really well on my channel. It fits in really easily with a lot of other things. Like, it's not as hard to edit as a hour-long Resident Evil Let's Play, but it's also not as difficult to get going as something like the podcast. So if I could start putting out some simple RuneScape stuff that's like, hey, here's a little bit of an outlet where if I got 4 hours in a day, I can make a video. Whereas with everything else, it's a giant production to kind of put out for me, since I'm just kind of working in my own apartment by myself. So that's what I have planned. As always, you can get a hold of me over on Twitter. It's @taken4grantd, and I'll see you guys again next week.